Welcome to the Local Business Insider Podcast with the Small Business Owners Alliance. This is a space where we sit down with real entrepreneurs and talk about the wins, the lessons, and the honest moments that come with running a business. I'm your host, Nicole Redinbaugh, small business owner, insurance broker, and founder of the Small Business Owners Alliance here in the Omaha area. Whether you're local to Nebraska or just love learning from real-world business stories, you're in the right place. Thanks for joining us here today at the Small Business Owners Alliance podcast. Today we have joining us Brandi Kawula with Dogalicious Dog Treats. So excited to have you here, Brandi.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Oh, absolutely. We love having you as part of our networking groups in person and online in our community, and so excited to get a chance to do this video with you today and learn a little bit more about your business and kind of some tips about what other businesses that have retail products can learn from you as well. So if we could just kind of kick off with a little bit more about your background and what it is that you offer at Dogalicious Dog Treats.
Yeah, so I make all natural dog treats for your best friend. So it's all limited ingredients, never additives or preservatives or anything there. I'm at the downtown Omaha Farmers Market. Our business is celebrating 29 years this year. So super excited to have the longevity of the program. My husband started it back in 97 and then just did it as a side job. And then he got cancer in 2017, taught me how to bake. And then I took over the business when he passed. And so for the past 8 years, I've just kind of been doing it by myself. And then 2 years ago, I retired from teaching to take the business full time and just kind of spread the love of natural dog treats to dogs across the country.
That's wonderful. And so sorry to hear about your loss, but I love the story that you bring and how you kind of continued on that legacy. And 29 years, oh my gosh, that is really something to be excited about.
It's been great. I have customers that actually one customer I just saw last week, and I'm on her 5th dog. So it's fun to see generations, they happen a little bit quicker with dogs, but the generations that pass with the treats.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, that's now you kind of become part of that family story. And that's wonderful that they love the product so much that they keep coming back. So that's fantastic. And, in our alliance, a lot of people that we work with, have more service-based businesses. So really excited to kind of dive into a little bit more about the retail side of things and some of the events that you do. I know that in the past year, you've really shared some great news about how much you've grown into different retail locations, not just in Nebraska, but kind of throughout the Midwest here. And, growing your online store, getting into several different states across the country. Would love to just kind of hear more about the story about how you kind of grew to that level.
Yeah, so when I made the decision to retire from teaching, I decided I better work hard. So I kind of, that first year, it was a lot of learning experiences, lots of hours, lots of, mistakes that are going to happen along the way. My online store is slower than what I was hoping, but, every store that I'm in, for the most part, it's either finding out from a vendor at an event or going out and actually searching for those stores. So one thing as a product-based business, I don't want that storefront. I don't want to have that overhead. So I have to rely on those other businesses that encourage the growth of businesses, but they get a percentage, whether I pay rent or consignment or however that works. It's our visions need to match. And if they don't match, then my product isn't going to be a good fit in that store. But I also have to make sure that my products can be competitive with what's in it. I have found that pet stores are not the best for my products because I can't keep up with the manufactured product that can be sold a lot cheaper. So when there's a lot of competition with the manufactured stuff, it's just not a good fit for me. But farm to table stores or boutique type stores, I'm in all the wine, beer, and spirits stores. It's like, while people are there treating themselves, they're like, oh, I should bring something home for my dog, so find those type of little niches that match you. I never just send an email to customers or to stores that say, "Hey, I want to be in your store." I always check out that store first to make sure that it really truly matches what I want my product to be in.
That's wonderful. And I love the time and effort and energy you put into making sure that there is that alignment because, that storefront now is also a representation of your brand just as much as it is vice versa. And, I think that that's a super important way to look at it. But I also love the point you made about like sometimes the best stores aren't always the ones where you would assume, I would assume, hey, you're selling pet treats, like you should be in a pet store. But I think that's a good point that, the mass produced bulk items that get sold there sometimes can do it at a different price point because of that. But I love the fact though that, you have kind of the control over the quality of ingredients and that you pour so much love into making that in a small batch form that is really, such a more unique experience and less preservatives, all that kind of thing that you're not getting when shopping at the big box stores. So,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, all my ingredients are under six ingredient, or all my products are under six ingredients. So it's truly healthy treats. So we know exactly what we're treating our dog.
hmm and yeah, and I think that's so important. Anytime that you offer a product, I mean, a service too, yes, but a product, trying to figure out what that niche is and how you're going to be able to target it to the right audience. Not every person has to be your customer,
Mhm.
but really making sure that you understand what's the value that you bring. Well, the value is I can know that my dog is getting something healthy. I can pronounce all the ingredients. There's limited ingredients. There's no, preservatives or chemicals or other things that, could be harmful. So I think that that's really great that you've kind of narrowed it down into that specific niche. And I think a lot of businesses can learn from that because sometimes it's easy to just start so broad that you don't even know who your target audience is you're talking to.
Absolutely.
I know that you do a lot with the stores, like we talked about, but you also do a lot of vendor events and have some great experiences there. What have you learned about like choosing which vendor events to be a part of and ones that are actually worthwhile? Any tips with that?
Yeah. So first of all, if you have never done a vendor event, start small. I see lots of people. This is my first show, and it's at the Omaha Farmers Market, which sees thousands of people on any given Saturday or Sunday. That's not the place to start. Also, if you take a break and then come back to it, so like when I wasn't doing a lot of winter events, I would take a break and then come back in the spring or summer. I would always do a small show to get started because you are going to forget something that first
Mm,
time back. You're going to forget your cash box. You're going to forget your card reader. You're going to forget your tent. You're going, there are so many things that, speaking from experience, you're going to forget. So definitely start small. And find what works for you before jumping into some of those bigger events. So that is definitely number one suggestion, because if you go and have a big event right away and it's not successful, you're going to get down on yourself, and then you're going to be scared to do it again. So definitely start small. Check with other vendor friends. So if you've never heard of an event, check with another vendor friend. Hey, have you done this? Have you heard about it? Do you know of anyone that's done it?
mm,
Because there are lots of events, whether it's market type events or craft shows. Craft shows are definitely popping up all over the place. If someone has a space, they're hosting a craft show. Some are good
right.
and some are not good, for various reasons, whether, the logistics of that flow isn't good, or the organization, or just so many reasons. Some organizers depend on the vendors to do all of the advertising, which is fine, but that needs to be known up front.
Mhm.
So if there's only 20 vendors, each one of them has to do the advertising. But if there's 200 vendors, there's going to be a lot more advertising
Yeah.
to do that. If you don't see a Facebook event for that show, create one. Create one yourself and, promote that your business is going to be there. So then people can, start. And then if they like it or say that they might go or whatever, they get those reminders. Oh, this is happening. So that definitely helps the promotion of those events. But definitely check out, because there's also a lot of scammers um,
Mm.
that put up fake things that look legit, and there isn't a legit event with that name, but then they change their email address. So
Oh
then,
gosh.
yeah. So just make sure that you kind of do your homework ahead of time, and make sure it's a valuable event for you.
Oh, that's such a good reminder. And I think, especially on social media, there's so many different ways people can get scammed. And it's like, gosh, these fraudsters are getting creative sometimes.
Absolutely.
So I
Hmm.
know I've seen in some events that are legit, then you'll get random people saying, hey, if you haven't already signed up, make sure to Venmo me here. And it's just a total scam
Right.
account. And
Hmm.
yeah, so I think that's a really good tip, to just make sure that you're protecting yourself and not getting too overwhelmed right when getting started.
Hmm.
What do you think are a couple things that every person having an event or attending an event, really, as a vendor, should make sure that they kind of think about or do to prepare to make that successful?
Yeah. So, it lots of things, and you start learning the tricks in trade. Don't go, to all the fancy things. Find an easy, if the event's outside, an easy pop-up tent. Make sure you
Okay.
do that before, like, how to set it up before you even show up to the show.
Yep.
So you're not unpacking it that morning when you're stressed to get started. A good cash box, credit card reader system, that sort of thing. But then make sure you have signage that explains your product, or I use signage to draw people into my booth. So I have cupcakes, and people want to come over to touch the cupcakes because they're soft, or there's dog chips, or there's bag of bones, so the cute little ways that people see my sign and it's in big text, and then they're like saying it, and then or they stop by and they Dogalicious, and so make those things that are fun, that then people are like, oh wait, I already bought this bag of bones at X store, so then they start making those connections of what your product is and where they've seen it. Some people use, as people are walking by, they use, hey, come check out this, and they show a flashlight on their jewelry, or so
Yeah.
find ways that entice people to come into your booth, because it's very easy to just walk by. So draw that customer engagement.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's a great point, whether it be signage that invokes that curiosity, and you personally inviting people
Mhm.
into the space. I can't tell you how many vendors I've walked by that, it's maybe towards the end of the day or something, they're a little tired and, on their phones and not really engaged, and
Yep.
it's a difference. Those are the vendors that the people walk by versus those who make eye contact and stay active and present and alert. And even if it has been a slow day, I'm sure that gets really hard, but it does make a difference. You're right. So
Absolutely. Also, a captain's chair, rather than, the small, short little folding
oh
chairs, a captain's
yes,
chair. So then, one, it's easier on your knees. So when you're getting up and down, but
good
then
tip.
also, you're already taller. So you're more in eye level of people. So even if you're sitting, you're still engaged with them. And,
Yeah.
they're not so likely to be like, oh, don't get up. Well, it's not that
Yes.
hard to get up. So, so a captain's chair is a definite must for me. So things like that you kind of just learn as it goes. If it's outside, make sure you bring weights for your tent in Nebraska.
Mm. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Even the ones that come with weights, sometimes it's just
Yeah.
not enough. And the last thing you need is going airborne with your
Mhm.
tent.
Yes.
No, the good tips for sure. Um, What other things? I know we've talked, specifically about like the retail and the events and that thing. Is there anything else that you think people should kind of consider or keep in mind when trying to grow, a retail product type business?
Yeah, so the first year after teaching, I did 85 events in that
Oh,
year,
wow.
plus grew to about, I think at that time, about 13 stores. It was way too much. It was too fast. It was, so
Mhm.
definitely go slow and know what your boundaries are. So I kind of was just throwing everything out there and hoping something stuck.
Mhm.
So make sure that you kind of take your time, do one thing at a time. So if I would grow a store, or start a new store, I wouldn't start another store for a month and kind of establish that one to make sure it fit with, okay, I still have the vendor events, I still have my other stores, and then also realize that there's going to be down months or seasons. For a while there, I did, the spring and summer events, and then my down season was the entire winter. Now that it's kind of more full time, I'm doing events all year long.
Mhm.
Um, but then also have my stores, which are year long. Watch those off seasons because growth during that off season is amazing. But can if I grow January through March, but then all of a sudden my events happen, am I going to be able to maintain that growth, or am I going to
Mhm.
get burned out with, you know, I've done too much. I Christmas last year, because I grew a lot in my stores. Christmas was really hard for me. Um,
Mhm.
I was up to 20 stores and I was stocking them every 4 or 5 days, because I just couldn't keep up with it. Plus, I did events. So I mean, by January, I was going crazy, which is a good problem to have. But it was just really hard to stay up with everything that I kind of took on over the summer when it was a little bit slower for the stores. So just kind of be thinking, what is this going to look like in the off season? Also, someone with retail, I was wondering, why are July sales so bad? And someone's like, well, the month starts with a J. January, June, and July historically are the slowest months for economy in the
Hmm.
stores. So kind of keep that in mind too, stock
Yeah.
up for those slower months, because there will be slower months in a retail type business.
Mhm. That's a good point, especially depending on the product you're working on. If it is perishable, making sure that you're not losing out because you have too much waste, and you're also using that slower time to prepare for the busier months as well.
Right.
So yeah,
Well,
that's
and
a
like
good.
my product is shelf stable. It can be in stores for months, but it takes me, by the time I bake it, it takes me a week and a half before I could even put it in a store. So by
Mm,
the time I realized I was behind, I was already really behind. So kind of planning forward, as to what your product requires.
yeah, I think that that's a really good idea. Is, yeah, understanding what's the shelf life of your specific product, what's the lead time that you need to get the supplies in, what's the turnaround once you know that you need to get something, how are the stores communicating that you're low, all those logistics. I think you got to manage your time really well. So I think those are good important tips to consider. So I know that we've talked a little bit about, some of the stores that you're in and that people can order from you online. If they want to learn more about Dogalicious Dog Treats and maybe check that out, what are some of the best ways that they can do that consistently? Because they may not be watching this video at the time that we're recording it.
Yeah, so Dogalicious NE is my .com is my website. So I believe if you just Google Dogalicious, I'm one of the first ones that pop up, if not the only one that pops up. So dogalicious.ne.com. Currently, I'm in about 12 stores, and I'm constantly changing that. But if you go to my website, I have a Google map that pulls you to all of my stores. So then you can see, oh, this one's the closest to me. So then it's really easy to see where I am. And then I'm always at the downtown Omaha Farmers Market on Saturday mornings.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing that and kind of helping spread some of your expertise. I know that here at the Small Business Owners Alliance, we've got businesses from all stages. So I love the fact that we can all help each other and learn and grow together. So I really appreciate your time and thanks for joining us today, Brandi.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And for those of you who don't already, make sure that you go ahead and follow Brandi with Dogalicious. We're going to put her website link and all of her social media in the show notes. So please don't forget to check that out. And we'd also really appreciate it if you could like, comment, and subscribe here to us for the Local Business Insider podcast with the Small Business Owners Alliance, where you can find more valuable conversation and tips from other local business professionals with our network. But we appreciate it. And until next time.